All right, well, on August 8th, we got another story of a NASCAR driver, or an ex-NASCAR driver, who died while racing. He actually died on August 7th, and he got in a wreck on August 6th. We got the story on August 8th. I'll show why that's significant in a second. I just want to go back and talk about some of the NASCAR stuff that I've talked about in regards to these deaths. There seems to be a lot of NASCAR deaths in the last few years at least that happened in the month of August. So remember, Tony Stewart was involved in this accident or whatever with Kevin Ward Jr. It happened on August 9th of 2014. Last year, there was some really interesting stuff going on with Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch. Kyle Busch even ends up winning the chase and all that last year. But Kyle Busch had gotten a wreck and broke his leg and couldn't race. And then his brother Kurt Busch was suspended for domestic violence against his wife or his girlfriend. And Patty Driscoll was her name. And she claimed that she was a government assassin and all of that. And I talked about how Kurt Busch was actually born on August 4th, the same day as Obama. I also talked about how when they both were out, the guys who replaced them was Reagan Smith and then also Dave Reagan, right? So both the Bushes were replaced by a Reagan. And when you think about the United States presidents, the Reagans and the Bushes. And then I later mentioned in some of the videos the movie Iron Man 2. In the movie Iron Man 2, and I learned this from a different channel a long time ago, is Veritas77 Axiom. But he had a video about how they had the nylon ropes guy in Iron Man 2. I can't even remember, it's been a long time. But the guy goes out and he knocks Tony Stark's car over when he's doing the NASCAR race. And I don't remember what the exact connection was between that, but I do remember in 2013, at a race in Charlotte, some nylon rope fell down and it hit Kyle Busch, and it ended up causing, he was in first place, he ended up not winning the race. And I did some research into it, it was called the Camcat Overhead, it was in Charlotte, it was literally the Charlotte Bobcats at the time. They just hired their new coach Steve Clifford the Cat, and the Camcat, and there were some other interesting connections. I even talked about how last year we had the birth of Princess Charlotte on May 2nd, 5-2, which was also the same day as Kyle Busch's birthday. 5-2, Kyle Busch and Gematria even equals 52. Even the book Charlotte's Web came out in 1952. 52 is also, the 52nd prime is also 239. We're in the 239th year of the United States. Kyle Busch went on to win the championship last year. And last year, he got in the car wreck, broke his leg or whatever. His brother wasn't going, like I said. But right after he did that, Jeff Gordon also got in a wreck. And Jeff Gordon came out and talked about how unsafe the tracks were, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, man, interesting, because Kurt Busch and Jeff Gordon are both born on August 4th, 8-4, the same day as Obama. I just want to show you Jeff Gordon really quick. Jeff Gordon, born on 8-4. He was 44 years old last year. And we also got a story last year of, right around the same time, of this NASCAR car being stolen. It was the number 44 car. Talked about Obama being the 44th president. There's all these connections to 84 with Kurt Busch, and, his girlfriend was the trained assassin. Then we got Jeff Gordon. I also talked about how in 2013, when this nylon rope fell, it was connected to the Boston Bombers. The Boston Bombers were Tamerlan, and then, however you say that, a lot of people said that it was like the Joker from Batman, Jokar or whatever, Tamerlan and Joker. So Joker, Tamerlan, if you look up the meaning of Tamerlan, it actually means Iron Man. And at the time, Jeff Gordon was the Iron Man of NASCAR. And literally, if you write out Tamerlan, it equals 84. And if you write out Iron Man, it also equals 84. So anyway, I talked about how I thought it was connected to something to do with maybe Obama being assassinated. I also said there's more than likely going to be some significant NASCAR deaths this year, or something to do with NASCAR and the deaths. Last year in August, we got this death that was in Pocono, Pennsylvania. I talked a whole lot about Philadelphia and the connections to Philadelphia and Pope Francis's visit. But James Campbell Jr. had died on August 14th. And then on August 24th, we got the death of Justin Wilson. And he also died in Pennsylvania, which was pretty interesting. And then, even during the fake Roanoke shooting here, right on the headline, it was talking about the death of Justin Wilson. He was struck by debris, blah, blah, blah. So it's talking about Justin Wilson. I even showed how it says Franklin County Bridgewater Plaza. If you read it down, Franklin Bridge, the Ben Franklin Bridge that's in Pennsylvania or in Philadelphia. So I guess just wanted to point out the connection between this fake Roanoke shooting in regards to the NASCAR win of Kyle Busch last year. I know there was a bunch of 122 in this story as well. I have to go back and look, but, you know, May 2nd, Kyle Busch's birthday, is also the 122nd day of the year. He even broke his leg on the 52nd day of the year. I forgot to mention that earlier. The two guys who died last year in August both have gematria of 50. And I'll come back and talk about this a little bit more. And I'll actually come back and talk about that a little bit more. I want to get back to the main topic, though, the death of Bryan Clauson then on August 7th. You know, just some very interesting things in regards to his death and stuff that I've been talking about recently. So like I said, he wrecked on 8/6, died on 8/7, and the story comes out on 8/8. His name in gematria has a lot of interesting connections in regards to Chicago and Iowa Hawkeyes, but his name in gematria, 46, 55, and 145. Chicago also equals 46. If you write out Chicago, Illinois, it equals 145, just like his name. Iowa Hawkeyes equals 55 and 145, just like his name. He even died at the age of 27. If you write out 27, it equals 55, just like his name. And we get the story on 8/8. 8/8 is the day that leaves 145 days left until the end of the year. So interesting, his name gematria lines up with the day that the story comes out. Also interesting, you know, he dies at age 27. Literally, it says his best finish in the NASCAR Xfinity Series is 27th. His first race was in 2007. If you take out the zeros, that's even a 27. He even dies 53 days after his 27th birthday. Just pretty interesting. The place that he got in a wreck was Belleville, Kansas. That equals 53. Interesting, he dies in Lincoln, Nebraska, though, which reminds me of the death of Nebraska Cornhusker punter Sam Foltz, who was number 27. You know, the Cornhuskers are from Lincoln, Nebraska. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but Lincoln, Nebraska in Jewish gematria is 411. The word assassin also equals 411. Who knows if that's significant, just pointing it out. So he dies 53 days after his birthday. He gets in a wreck in Belleville, Kansas that equals 53. The guy who made him wreck, Ryan Greth, his name equals 53 in gematria. Also 116 the big way. It was Clauson's 116th race of the season even. 53, though, was also a number I saw a lot last year around the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Clear back last September, I even talked about how they're more than likely going to have a record of 5-3 or 3-5. They ended up being 3-5 after the Northwestern game. And I just saw it a lot in a lot of the games. It seemed like there was a lot of 53 and at least 53. I don't remember 35 as much. But interesting, Nebraska equals 35 in gematria. You know, Nebraska's N-U. N is the fifth letter, or N breaks down to 5, U breaks down to 3, a lot like 53. I also talked about the actor from the movie Herbie the Love Bug. Dean Jones had died on 9/1. He even died at the age of 84. Interesting. But I had talked about how Nebraska's mascot is Herbie Husker. We got the movie Herbie the Love Bug. And Herbie in the movie is even number 53. Herbie also equals 38 in gematria, just like Kansas. And this Bryan Clauson, the guy that I'm talking about, the NASCAR guy, he even got in the wreck in Kansas, then he died in Lincoln, Nebraska. And a long time ago, in regards to the Pennsylvania stuff that I mentioned in the beginning of the video about the other NASCAR guys dying in August last year, I had a video about the Philadelphia experiment and how it connected to Kansas even. The Philadelphia experiment was this supposed time travel thing that happened on this Navy boat. It was also called Project Rainbow. Think about Kansas in regards to Rainbow. You know, the Wizard of Oz, Kansas, somewhere over the rainbow. I made this video right after gay marriage was legalized. Think about the rainbow flag. I even talked about the actress from Can't Buy Me Love who had died. She was the girlfriend of Patrick Dempsey on that movie. She had died last year on, I believe, on 4/3, Civil War equals 43. And I talked about all the gray symbolism. I talked about Freddie Gray and how, Freddie Gray was arrested on the day the Civil War began and died on the same day the Civil War came to an end. And then they killed off Dr. McDreamy, who was Patrick Dempsey in Grey's Anatomy. And we also had 50 Shades of Grey that came out during Black History Month. The Confederates wore different shades of gray. But in regards to the Can't Buy Me Love girl, she was from Greeley County, Nebraska, which is interesting because Sam Foltz was from Greeley, Nebraska, right? So just interesting in regards to all of that. Nebraska even had a big connection in regards to Philadelphia as well. Just before Herbie, or the Dean Jones died, the actor from Herbie, Nebraska was going through a problem with their PA announcers, right? PA announcers, Pennsylvania, the abbreviation for Pennsylvania. Nebraska was also the first team to play Penn State after the Jerry Sandusky stuff. I mean, just think about it. I even talked about the movie Tommy Boy, where in the very beginning he says, it's not John Hancock, it's Herbie Hancock. And in the very beginning of that movie, he drops his American history book with the number 239 written on it. And last year we were in the 239th year of the United States. There's just so much. Hopefully I didn't lose you. There's just a lot of information. So the actor from Herbie, Dean Jones, his name even equals 87. And this guy, Bryan Clauson, dies on 8/7. I found pretty interesting in regards to all the 53 stuff. And then Herbie, the car, is even number 53. I also re-looked up Dean Jones. Dean Jones died 219 days after his birthday last year, after his 84th birthday. August 7th, the day that Bryan Clauson died, normally the 219th day of the year. I talked a whole lot about this day. Nothing super significant happened, but it's a definite day that has a lot of connections to multiple other things in regards to Queen Elizabeth and Pope Francis and the Philadelphia train wreck that happened. So then even more in regards to the Civil War type theming, Bryan Clauson, he gets in a wreck in Belleville, Kansas. Belleville, Kansas, the big way equals 161. American Civil War also equals 161. He dies in Lincoln, Nebraska. Abraham Lincoln equals 60. Lincoln, Nebraska equals 60. Interesting, Abraham Lincoln also equals 123, the big way. And Clauson dies 1 month, 23 days after his birthday. The word conspiracy even equals 123. They even tell us, in regards to this, Lincoln 60, Lincoln, Nebraska 60. They even tell us that it was the darkest day in the 60-year history of the United States Auto Club. Right? So another 60. If you write out Belleville, it even equals 60. It's located on 97 degrees west. If you write out the word 60, it equals 34 and 97. If you write out Civil War, it equals 43 and 97. So a prime place for some Civil War type coding. So anyway, the reason Kansas is also very significant at the Civil War, it was the 34th and last state to join the Union before the Civil War began. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was born on the 43rd day of the year. Civil War equals 43. Think about 34, 43, the mirrors. Kansas became a state 34 days before 3-4 when Abraham Lincoln became the president. Lincoln equals 34, murder equals 34. Lincoln even died 4 years, 3 days after the Civil War began. It began in Charleston. That equals 43. And I'm sorry I'm going to get off topic here for a second, but the reason that so many black people even moved to Kansas during the Civil War was because of this guy, John Brown. I can find it here, John Brown. Remember this, the word slave equals 59, the word Negro equals 59. The Civil War even came to an end on May 9th. This guy is the reason that so many black people had moved to Kansas during the Civil War. He was born on 5/9. He died in the year 59 at the age of 59 even. I mean, how ridiculous. But in regards to the 34-43 stuff, and in regards to the death of Sam Foltz and also Mike Sadler, who was with him from Michigan State, I talked a lot about 43 once again in that story. Sam Foltz died 43 days before Nebraska's first game against Fresno State. That equals 43. Mike Sadler, the other guy who died with him, equals 43. Nebraska has 43 conference championships right now. They died in Wales, Wisconsin on 43 degrees north. Sam Foltz and Sadler even died 14 days before Clauson wrecked his Nascar or whatever, his midget racing. The 14th prime is 43. With the V exception, Belleville, Kansas equals 71. Nebraska equals 71. The Cornhuskers play in the Sea of Red. That's what they call Memorial Stadium. Think about Moses and the Red Sea. Moses freed the slaves. Lincoln freed the slaves. Moses equals 71. The Ten Commandments equals 71. Remember last year Nebraska somehow got a bowl game as well. They played in Levi's Stadium. Levi's Stadium. Moses from the tribe of Levi. And just think about it in regards to all of the stuff. Abraham Lincoln surrounded by 34-43. He freed the slaves. Moses freed the slaves. Exodus equals 34. Hebrew 34. Egyptian 43. Serpent 34. Red Sea 34. Canaan 34. Sinai 34. Passover 34. Aries 34. Golden Calf 43. Moses was the lawgiver that even equals 43. Just think about all of that. What are the odds of that these two guys who freed the slaves completely connected to 34 and 43? If you write out the word 71, it equals 144. Just think about it in regards to the 12 tribes of Israel. There was 12,000 people. That equals 144,000. The size of the New Jerusalem is 144 cubits. Anyway, interesting too in regards to the movie The Love Bug. It was released worldwide on March 13th, 1969, which really sticks out to me for the fact that it's exactly 44 years before Pope Francis became the Pope. If you write out 44, it also equals 144, just like the word 71. I know that also it says it was, distributed by Buena Vista Distribution, which is just interesting. I know they probably, did a whole bunch of other movies and whatnot, but just interesting in regards to all the stuff I've talked about in regards to the area that I live in and how I live really close to Omaha. I talked about the Omaha boy getting ate at Disney World or Disneyland, whatever one it was. He got ate at Lake Buena Vista, Florida, tons of other stuff. So anyway, the reason that Pope Francis is so significant, for one, his real name, Jorge Bergoglio, equals 145, just like Bryan Clauson, the Nascar guy who just died. In regards to Herbie, I even mentioned in the movie Herbie Fully Loaded with Lindsay Lohan. She's wearing the shirt with the Golden Gate Bridge on it with the picture of the blood moon next to it. And interesting because Pope Francis, the last day he was in the United States was Philadelphia last year. And later that night, we got the final blood moon of the Tetrad and whatnot. So interesting. Also, San Francisco was named after St. Francis of Assisi. That's who Pope Francis is named after. If you write out San Francisco, it equals 122. If you write out Pope Francis, it equals 122. If you write out Lindsay Lohan even equals 53. Also, the big Y, 134. King Charles III equals 134. I've talked a lot about this coding to the royal family, even how it connects to Pope Francis. Kansas equals 38 and also 65. The word prince equals 38 and 65. If you write out Clauson, the NASCAR guy who dies, Clauson, 404 in Jewish gematria. Pope Francis equals 404. Prince Charles equals 404. Prince Charles's wife will become Queen Camilla. Queen Camilla equals 404 in Jewish gematria. And if you remember, Pope Francis arrived in the United States at 4:04 p.m. on his 923rd day as Pope. He went to the next day. He went to the White House at 9:23 on 9:23. A bunch of 9:23 connections and whatnot. Last year was even the 404th year of the King James Bible that has 404 verses in Revelation. Interesting too, then, this Bridgewater shooting, Vester Flanagan, the guy who supposedly did it, his name equals 55 and 145, just like Bryan Clauson. And he did this to avenge the Charleston church shooting, right? That's what they told us. And in recent stories of the Alton, Sterling, Philando Castile, Paul O'Neill, I mentioned how they keep showing the color turquoise. Seems like turquoise is a really big color. There was even a story on CNN about the turquoise door, the kidnappers or whatever, and they had the blue door and the girls who were in the blue dresses, but it was a turquoise colored door. Turquoise even equals the same as Bryan Clauson. So I'm trying to figure out what in the world is going on with this turquoise. I still have no idea, but I know that there's something very significant about turquoise. Also, I find it interesting that we had the Kansas Amtrak derailment on Pi Day last year, which just so happened to be 145 days before Bryan Clauson gets in the wreck. Nebraska Cornhuskers equals 222, Amtrak equals 222. This train was going to Chicago. Chicago, Illinois equals 145. It even had 145 people on board. There's something very significant with these Amtrak derailments as well. The Philadelphia one last year on May 12th was also interestingly connected to this for the fact that if you go from May 12th to 8/7, the day that Bryan Clauson dies, it's a span of 87 days. I talked about it's also 8/7 is also the halfway point between Queen Elizabeth's 64th anniversary being queen and also her 65th anniversary being queen. 8/7 also a day connected to Pope Francis. The Philadelphia train wreck was 219 days before his birthday. 8/7, the 219th day of the year, but it was also 219 days before Pope Francis's 3rd anniversary being the Pope. If you just write Belleville, it equals 71, Nebraska equals 71, Moses equals 71. And like I said, Lincoln freed the slaves like Moses. He was from Illinois, just like Obama. Super Bowl 50 equals 71. Played in Levi Stadium, Moses and the tribe of Levi. All of this stuff in regards to San Francisco. But 1871 was also 145 years ago. That's when the Great Chicago Fire was. It began on October 8th, 10/8. If you write out 145, it equals 108. The Willis Tower is 108 stories high. The Cubs haven't won the World Series in 108 years. Bryan Clauson, he won his first race on October 8th as well, 10/8. So pretty interesting. It was also 134 years after 1871 when he won. King Charles equals 134. He was also born in Sacramento, California. That equals 197. The word prince in Jewish gematria equals 197. It also says that he drove the number 88 for Dale Coyne and Jonathan Bird Racing. Just interesting, the story comes out on 8-8, and he drove the number 88 in the Indianapolis 500. Even Dale Coyne, he retired as a driver in 1988, and he started his company with Walter Payton, right? Walter Payton, the Chicago Bears, great. No, there's a ton with Walter Payton as well. He has a lot of connections to Chicago. He even died at the age of 46. Chicago equals 46, and tons of other stuff. But the first race that these guys ever won, Dale Coyne Racing, it just so happened to be Justin Wilson, right? Justin Wilson, the guy who died last year. He was on the Bridgewater shooting. You know, he is the guy that went across on the bottom of the screen. So very, very interesting. Clauson also raced the number 88 in the Indy 500 71 days before he died. You know, just interesting in regards to Nebraska and everything I've talked about. His last tweet says, "Thanks to at Simpson Racing and at Spike Chassis for keeping me safe, because on August 5th, he also got into a car wreck and, you know, took a tough hit last night, blah, blah, blah." Just interesting, the people that he thanks, if you add them up in gematria, it equals 115, just like Scottish Rite Freemasonry. It was also his 115th race on August 5th, which can also be written as 5/8 Freemasonry equals 58. So, you know, who knows? We'll follow the story and see where it takes us, but I feel like it's a definite connection to the Nebraska Cornhuskers in regards to that he died in Lincoln, Nebraska. And, you know, we also have the death of Sam Foltz. Punt also equals 71 in gematria, 17 and 71, just like Moses. Sam Foltz was the punter. But, you know, anyway, have a great one.